at the matter of the geopolitical developments. It's something that we stood very strongly on in terms of getting that on the agenda. Now, I will not profess and say that, well, the Caribbean islands are not getting any updates, especially what is happening down in the vicinity of our neighboring islands, our sister islands actually, and those are Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire. But it is about the parliaments, and especially those directly affected by these, getting timely and direct information. So that is what you would see has been decided on where it pertains to the geopolitical developments, and it is the picture that has been painted for us in a presentation warrants that kind of a oversight, that kind of a timely information, because it is, I don't want to sound like an alarmist, but it is an alarming picture. That's what we got presented to us. And again, from a parliamentary perspective, we want to know in a timely fashion. As you know, there are three main kingdom responsibilities: defense, nationality, and foreign affairs. And thus, though the ministers, for those three ministries, they supposed to inform our governments, through our governments, our parliaments as well, on this side of the ocean. So that is what has been locked down under that point. As I said before, a very serious presentation, and we have to keep our eyes on the ball in terms of what is happening. Another point is the matter of the advice from the Council of State, which is also a known report, 70 years charter. And we got a presentation on that again, and the recommendations from this advice were put forward to the IPCO. The IPCO looked at those recommendations and actually said, well, our governments need to react to these recommendations. I can say, because I have seen it, that from St. Martin's perspective, our government has reacted. And then we had the different breakout groups, and they looked at things, most of them in the context of the constitutional relations, constitutional affairs, autonomy, democratic deficit, some of the themes that you have heard before. However, when it came to the advice of the Council of State, and as I mentioned, St. Martin has issued its reaction, the government of St. Martin, which on a side note, Parliament now should be debating, in my opinion. However, they have issued this. The other point that I thought was extremely important is the matter of the presentation that we got on aging. And that is a topic that is of importance, of critical importance for all of the countries. Some more than others, but if you look at the trends, the population that is just before considered elder now, in the next couple of years, they're going to be our elderly population. So it's not to say, well, okay, it's a problem of the other islands and countries. However, what was very clear by the presentation that we received is that the Netherlands, and for the best, is able to make those kind of analyses and trends that are important for you to know, for you to have in order to plan, because we have to plan for this aging process that affects us all. And where this information can be shared in terms of how do we do it, in terms of getting them to assist us in making these trends, then I believe we should make use of that. So again, that has been noted as a concern for all of the countries. And so I think those were like the top issues, and there were many visits in the context of education. Now, I could imagine, because I've heard the critical views in terms of, does it make sense to go to an IPCO? Yes, it does, very much so. If we don't try to keep the matters that are important to us on the forefront, nobody's going to keep it for us. And our colleagues, like I remind my colleagues here on St. Martin, are the members of parliament, of the different countries. So yes, it makes sense. I could imagine another critical view would be, but why so many of you? That's our democratic system. I can't say, well, I'm going to represent the whole parliament and my views are going to be expressed on no. It's our democratic system. We have it set so that faction leaders will be part of the delegation, and especially in these breakout sessions, they have the opportunity to participate, to give their views, etc. So that's the more local part surrounding it. And before the IPCO, we had a tripartite meeting that's between Curacao, Aruba, and St. Martin. And we have, of course, this letter of support that we call it for the best islands because of their visits to the three countries. And at the start of IPCO, we informed our Dutch counterparts of this letter because we needed to tread very carefully in terms of we can't put ourselves in the shoes of the Dutch government, which is actually the best government and the best, let me call it, best central government, because they also have a local government. And we can't put ourselves in the shoes of the members of the first and second chamber, who are the representatives of the best islands. They're the parliament for the best islands. But we did inform them that we believe, based on what the best islands put forward to us, that we can issue a letter of support, a letter of understanding, and wherever possible, whisper our feelings towards our best brothers and sisters in the ears of our Dutch counterparts. So we had our tripartite, that is what was finalized, and then we had the IPCO going on. But what I do want to get to and further on, and that's you might have seen my statement regarding such, and that is the matter of as I mentioned, the Council of State and what they have recommended can be done in order to improve the relationship in the kingdom. And they have several points, several concrete points. St. Martin's reaction from the government is not in agreement with all of them, and they have stated why. So that discussion is yet to take place.
SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah. Your social health insurances.
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, Com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
The Central Bank of Curaçao, the nomination or until the process to appoint goes in 3 phases. The recommendation that everybody's saying, it's a recommendation from the board. Recommends, not binding. They call it in Dutch aanbeveling. The board recommends or not. The minister gets a recommendation or not, agrees with it or don't agree with it. And then she says, you know, I have a name, recommended or not by the board, and it is a nominee, conditional. No one has been appointed president of the chairman of the board of the Senate. Nobody. It's a conditional agreement of government of St. Martin that in case the negotiation starts for the chairman position of the board, for then St. Martin to have already an approval, okay, in case they're going to appoint, we want to push a candidate from St. Martin for the chairmanship of the board. No one has been appointed. Everybody is fighting with everybody in this country because of a candidate that has been appointed. No one has been appointed. It is a conditional nomination. The name is nomination. What we have to go to is appointment of the nominee. We didn't get there yet. And the whole place is upside down because we're thinking that somebody has been appointed. Nobody has been appointed. And recently in the news too, I told them it's not correct to think that any person has been appointed as chairperson of the supervisory board of the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin. Secondly, what is important to know, in December 2024 and January 2025, the same minister sent a letter to Curaçao and asked the board, hey guys, there is no chairman of the board. What about? Who are the candidates? Today is September, and until today, no candidates has been presented from the supervisory board as recommended, potential candidates. And now you have somebody from St. Martin saying, guys, let's start thinking on ourselves. We're going to just do it. And everybody is now on top of this minister. But why? Is this an effect of crab mentality? Or are we not understanding the bigger picture that we start to fight for the betterment of our country? Instead of we unite our forces, help the government to get the chairman of the board in St. Martin, we are going to fight our own people to give it back to Curaçao. And then everybody's happy again. Guys, what are we doing with this country? Why do we do that? Why are we so obsessed the moment we see a positive development of trying to get the chairmanship of the supervisory board from Curaçao and St. Martin? Everybody forgot that that position is available for St. Martin, and now we are fighting the minister that is taking that initiative. I regret such developments, and that is the reason that the whole day, instead of we being together, united, and constructive, we are fighting each other, and if you understand the bigger picture, everybody forgets why we are doing that. It's just for us to become the chairperson of the board of the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin. Unfortunately, I find this whole discussion unfortunate. And it's for the betterment of our position in our relationship with the central bank. And now we are fighting the minister, we are fighting our candidates, and you're going to see what's going to happen. Curaçao is going to get the chairmanship, while we have right for years already to be the chairperson. But we don't want that. We don't want that success. We don't want that constructive approach. We better stay the way we are and continue complaining the whole day. That is what we like in this country. I am against that mentality and approach as Prime Minister.
I had asked previously if you would be willing to look at the travel costs, travel policy, perhaps for shorter trips, not flying business class, etc. Is that something that you're willing to look at for cost-cutting measures?
Minister, I will look in every detail that thing that we can save some money for government. Of course, we have to do that. We cannot just spend money to spend money. We have to see how we can actually control our expenses in our intention to actually better the financial condition of the country, of course.
And I will give you the form for KLM Blue Biz number.
Thank you.
So my question for you is actually in keeping with your reply to my colleague about central bank
Yeah.
and going back to your governing program. So it's more of a helicopter perspective. One of the things that you speak about is government in its necessity to perform well for the people is that the different ministries should not operate in silos.
Yes.
But the discussion about, and just using, so not so much the topic of the chair of central bank, but the way the topic has been handled within government and the way it's been related out to the public, that within the Council of Ministers there was disagreements, there was not a unanimous, cohesive approach to this topic, which would make me think that government is very much still in silos or at least factions. If you could perhaps answer
Yeah,
to
I don't think that's the case. We did already two things. We had hired somebody to help us in a workshop to try to actually solve the problem of ministries working in silos. That's one. And recently, Minister Brug invited us in Divi Little Bay to showcase all the projects that he is busy with, to see how the other ministries can help him in collaboration for them to achieve their aims. So in principle, we are very well aware that we are coming from a system that we were functioning in silos, but we are working very actively to see how we can actually break through this culture of ministries working in silos. So we are very aware of that. The fact, and that is what we have to understand if we want to become adults in a democratic country. The fact that you have a decision in the Council of Ministers and you have a majority of 4 and the other 3 vote against, that does not mean that you are in disunion and in silos. No, that means that democracy is working. And everybody can have their own opinion, and that's why they have the right to vote, and then they will have a majority, and even if the majority is 4 against 3, that doesn't mean that there is a disunion in the government. No, it means that we have a healthy democracy, and that is the way a government functions. The moment you have a majority democratically in government, in Council of Ministers, you have a decision. The day that all ministers agree with each other for every decision in the COM, we are becoming a dangerous country. You must have different opinion to keep a healthy democratic system going. Thank you.
SXM, your social and health insurance is SXM, your social and health insurance is.
Are you SZV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SZV is cardless. Request your My SZV account today and enter the virtual office of SZV. Go to szv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah, your social and health insurance is.
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, Com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
For 23 years, the regional government's securities market has operated across the currency union, but participation by individual investors has been negligible, just 600 people of a population of 630,000. The reason? High barriers to entry. Until now, investors needed a minimum of $5,000 to compete with institutional investors who often came in with millions.
Without financial independence, there is no real independence. And financial resilience will help to strengthen our independence as individuals and as a nation.
At the regional launch of Financial Information Month 2025, the ECCB unveiled its solution, the ECCU Retail Bond. The initiative dramatically lowers the investment threshold to just $500, with increments of $100 up to a maximum of $50,000 per person.
The retail bond serves to reduce the minimum investment amount, so we've lowered the threshold from $5,000 to $500 with increments of $100. So before, you had to start with $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, and as I said, the institutional investors would then come in with $2 million, and so we are pushed out of that race. We have also included in this retail bond a maximum amount, because we recognize you can have a minimum, but then you can have persons who can come in with $1 million, $2 million, and then excludes persons like Auntie Shanna and others.
The bond offers a 4.25% interest rate over 2 years, more than double typical saving rates. The ECCB's newly launched website features a bond simulator, allowing potential investors to calculate their earnings. The governments of Grenada and St. Kitts and Nevis will issue the inaugural retail bonds on October 31st. Grenada, which launched its household bond last week, has already seen interest from 500 potential investors. To invest, citizens must open a free brokerage account with one of 6 licensed brokers across the region. The subscription period runs for about 3 weeks, closing November 21st, with investments allocated on a first-come, first-served basis. Samantha Simon, ABS News.